Call to order, call this meeting to order. A silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance to the
flag
flag
of
of
the
the United
States
States of America
and to the
and to the republic for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
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 under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks. Roll call, Mrs. Franks, not a vote. I always do that.
Forgot to unmute. Mayor
Okay,
Kindle,
present.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino,
present,
Councilwoman Lyons,
Present.
Councilwoman Pies.
Present from Harper Woods.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Let's back that up. And we'll start with Mayor Kindle again. Sorry.
Present from the offices of Harperwood City Farm.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
present from my home in Harper Woods.
Okay. Councilwoman Lyons.
Present and attending virtually from my home in Harper Woods.
Okay. Councilwoman Pies.
Present, attending from Harper Woods.
Okay. Councilwoman Sawicki.
Present and attending virtually from Harper Woods, my home in Harper Woods.
Okay. Councilwoman Williams.
Present, attending from my home in Harper Woods.
Councilman Toussaint.
Present and attending from my home in Harper Woods.
Okay. And Acting City Manager Szymanski.
Here.
And City Attorney Diwali.
Here.
All right, I need approval of minutes. I need a motion for the approval of minutes from the regular city council meeting, the library board meeting, and the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the beautification commission meeting.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
yes, I'll offer the, I'll offer a request to receive, approve, and file the regular city council meeting of May 17th, 2021, to receive and file the library board meeting, April 15th, 2021, the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting held May 12th, 2021, and the Beautification Commission meeting held June 1st, 2021.
Support. Support by Councilwoman Constantino. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
on the Beautification Commission meeting minutes, I accidentally left off that David Beard, commission member, was excused from the meeting. And so I will need to update that in the minutes, but I wanted council to have the correction.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm trying to find the one for the zoning, the Board of Zoning Appeal.
That begins on page 12.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, I have a question regarding the variance for the zoning ordinance. Did anyone really understand that we were allowing this variance? We didn't speak on it, but that is to allow a plasma center to come into our community at the old Pier 1. I thought that it would come before us, before it would be
Approved.
enacted. So I don't know if anyone really have any problems with this. A plasma center, they say that they will maintain and will be able to keep people. um, And it would not be like a vagrant type thing, but usually those things draw a different crowd than the crowd of people that we would like to have in our community. And I'm just wondering from the clerk, from Mrs. Franks, if there's something we can do to prevent this kind of a business to begin to operate in our community. And I don't know if anyone else on council feels as I do, but it's something I'm not interested as a resident of this community and having in our community. There are many more other businesses that, could occupy that space. So I'm just putting it out there for a part of discussion. If anyone else has any feelings, either for or against, please, let's acknowledge it. I just didn't want to pass this blanket and know that we was all right with this.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Swicki.
I'd like to get a weigh-in from the city attorney on this. I know a number of things that are passed by some of our boards do come to us before they are permitted to be enacted. And I'm hoping that this is one of those situations. Do we have the ability to look at this particular zoning before it is enabled? And so if our city attorney could weigh in and let us know, because I think that council certainly should have the opportunity to hear the argument and make the final decision for the community. Sharon, are you able to talk on that?
I am really not a part of the zoning board. I typically don't get involved with the zoning board and their actions. If they, and I'm looking for it, if they attempted to pass an ordinance, they can't do that. Is that what I heard? Is that what I understood?
No,
Yeah.
I believe that it's a variance on the zoning for that particular
Well,
location.
typically that's their job.
Mhm.
That's
Well-
what the zoning board and the zoning board of appeals do. That's their job. That's what they do.
Okay, and
They
because
look
this-
at the whole package that's presented to them, and they either grant or deny or modify variances. That's their
Right.
job.
Okay, and so my understanding is that they had given a zoning change for that particular location from medical, which would have required a full, I don't remember, I think an acre of property to be considerably less than that in order to permit this particular usage. And so I guess the question becomes, does the city council have the right or the opportunity to review that before it is granted?
And again, that's, you appointed people to sit on the commission.
Mhm.
That's what council does.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you folks being elected. You're the voice of those folks that you represent. The people that you put in the commissions are the voice of you representing them, or they're representing you. And the commission, the zoning boards typically have the last word. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Okay. So in essence, we have nothing that we can do about this with this variance being granted, correct?
Yes, they granted the variance. I don't know of anything, because you granted them that's their job. You granted them the privilege to do that, and that's what they did.
All right, thank you so very much. Does that
Sure.
satisfy you too, Councilwoman Sawicki?
Well, it
Well, you're
disappoints
not-
me.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
not
it
satisfied,
disappoints me.
but
I know.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing we can do is to pay closer attention to the people that we're putting on that board. If they're going to continue to do this kind of waiver, you know, or perhaps, perhaps with something as important as this, we might get information from this company that has been granted this waiver so that we are more comfortable with their, you know, business. I would certainly hope that if they are hearing the council minutes or seeing them, they realize that they have some bridging to do so that we feel comfortable having that in our community. Because I do have the same kinds of concerns.
Well,
If I may, what could happen is if you had attended or knew about the event,
yeah,
because you can attend, I mean, your residents, you
right,
can
Yeah.
attend the
Right.
meetings, just like anybody can attend these meetings and voice your opinion.
Right, right.
That's the way it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
makes
that they have
sense.
an idea, they have a notion of what you're talking about. I don't know if something got lost in the sauce here, if you'll
Yeah.
excuse the expression.
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
Can you kind of question?
yes, Councilman Ivory.
Can you kind of update the rest, some of the new people on here about what this situation is?
Okay. The Pier 1 building, the people that was wishing to purchase it, appealed to the Board of Zoning Appeal for a variance. And that was so that they will be able to operate a plasma center out of the old Pier 1 building. And it was presented May 12th to the Board of Zoning Appeal, and it was passed. It kind of slipped past me, and I didn't, when I first heard about this, I was a little taken back because to me, plasma centers usually bring a degree of people that, they sell their blood. So I know a lot of college areas do this, but I didn't feel that we were, it was a good place, it was a good fit for our city right now. So, but it was granted, and as City Attorney Diwali just said, it's like a done deal. I don't know at this point if there's anything that we could do about it, because the Board of Zoning Appeal has passed it.
I mean, the last time the guy came in and was trying to move the church down the street on Harbor, they brought it to council. Why wasn't this one brought to?
Right. That was my question. And but obviously they didn't bring it to us because we have had other instances, like a pawn shop that was trying to go in on Hopper Avenue some years ago, and that was brought to council. When they wanted to use the St. Peter's Rec, and they needed a variance over there, that was brought to council. So I don't understand how this got lost in the sauce in essence, but I'm just not happy about having a plasma center at that location when there could be another viable business going there. That was my concern.
Understand.
Thank you. Councilwoman Constantino, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah. I was totally planning on selling my plasma there. Just want to let you know that. I'm gonna be that vagrant sitting outside the building. Actually, I have had some positive experiences with plasma centers. Some plasma helping some people I know, and I drive or have driven before COVID. I drove one of my coworkers to the plasma center on a regular basis. He was our school engineer, and he would always donate the money. And when he told me how much he was making, I was like, man, you could that's a car payment right there. He's making over $400 a month selling his plasma. But I do, the experience I had prior to that was through colleges, because I know at my daughter's college, they have a plasma place. And some other places, they tend to go wherever the students are, because a lot of students supplement their tuition or their living expenses with selling plasma. And yeah, sometimes you do get, different types of people there. You can, have the high end and the low end all in the same place at the same time. But I don't think it's really up to us to discriminate something like that. I do think that we could keep a tight eye on it and just make sure that it's, not creating a serious problem. But generally, to donate your blood, you have to at least clean yourself up for a while. So I'm hoping, this is not going to be a bad thing. I mean, I can understand your concern for sure. I'm not dismissing your concern. I'm just saying that we can't be judgmental of something like that, because for a lot of people, there's a difference between whether they can pay their bills or not. And so, and like I said, a lot of those people are college students.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right, then, all in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any disapproval? Any nays? Motion carries. All right, so now we have public comment on the agenda items. Anyone from the public that wish to speak on agenda items can speak now. Okay, Bob, you don't see any hands?
Madam Mayor, I do not see anybody wishing to speak at this time.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. I need a resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Constantino.
I'll offer the resolution to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 8. And I wanted to point out, while I was offering this resolution, who the appointees are going to be, but hold on, I got to get to page 61. If anyone wants to see it, it's on page 61 in our agenda.
Do we need a support first?
Yes, she does. Need a
Oh, okay,
support.
go ahead. If someone wants to support it, then I'll read. I was just going to read it as part of it, but yeah.
Okay, supported by Councilwoman Pies. All right.
Okay.
Now discuss.
Now, oh, for discussion.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to read it. Sorry if I look like I'm looking sideways, but I have the other computer next to this one. So we had interviews last week, and the subcommittee is recommending that Kevin Koreski and Lauren Mercer would be appointed to the Planning Commission for unexpired terms ending January 2023. And our discussion was it was a nice combination of experience and youth with that. Some different mindsets brought. We think that they both be a wonderful addition to the Planning Commission. And then Michael Andresiak to be appointed to the Beautification Commission for the unexpired term ending in January 2024. And Susan Nocita Hamill be appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the unexpired term ending in January 2023.
Right, is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Pies.
I had a few questions. One, I am wondering if just the name is incorrect. It's Image First for prisoner blankets. It just sounds like they don't jibe. So I
Excuse
was
me?
wondering if we're paying someone or something named Image First for prisoner blankets. That's on page 24. I'm wondering if that's the correct name of the business, or did we get a line mixed up, or what?
Okay, you are,
On the check register? or
it's on the
consignment?
check.
Yes, I'm sorry, it's on the check register.
Okay, what is the check number?
I do.
2208.
12208, okay.
City Hall mats, rental and clean, June prisoner blanket.
Where is this? 1220.
12208, page 24, which is the 5th out of 6 pages of the register.
Where is this?
It is Image First.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
yeah, that's Image First, that's correct.
Yeah.
it's Image First, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's
Yeah. Okay.
seems strange to me. Also on page 23, there was a rental fee for a sound stage from Grosse Pointe Woods. I'm wondering what we used the sound stage for.
Okay, that Grosse Pointe just passed a series of fees on their rentals, and that is for the sound stage to be used for Juneteenth coming up.
Reimbursed.
And yes,
And because it was a municipality, it had to come through Harper Woods, and Harper Woods would be reimbursed for the sound system, for the staging.
Okay, and then one last one was page 21 for flowers for Johnston Park. I was wondering who plants the flowers.
DPW.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Swicki?
also on page 21, which is page 2 of the register, there is check number 122111. And what it says is 8 park signs, Johnston and Salter Park. And I'm just curious what those park signs are about.
Okay, those were signs that we had made up to, like, for no bounce houses and things like that. People were using our parks and bringing in bounce houses. So that has just a sign to let them know that they're not allowed in the park.
Okay, and then also I noticed in the consent agenda that we are paying for speed bumps having been placed, which, you know, we knew about, but they list 3 streets, Woodcrest, Woodside, and Damon. They give the addresses. Are those the only places where speed bumps are located right now, or do we have them on other streets as well?
We
Because
do have them on other streets, and I'm gonna let Bill Schneider give a little more detail. Bill? You're on mute.
Yep, thank you. You know what? We have 2 locations on Anita where there are speed bumps. And with the addition, we purchased additional speed bumps for these previously selected locations that were identified by our police department as the areas in need. And reason being, we have found that Anita was a little wider than we had anticipated. So we put double speed bumps out there, if you will. So this is really not in additional locations, but just a follow-up to the completion of what we started.
And do we have all of the speed bumps that we anticipate using at this time, or are we going to add to that?
You know what? There's a location on Broadstone that is in somewhat of a holding pattern because some folks had expressed concern about the specific location, and we're just looking into that.
All right, and one last question, are they working?
I'm sorry?
Are they working?
You know what? To some extent, yes. I'm, you know, people do slow down for them.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
I have a question.
Councilwoman Ivory, Tucson, Mr.
Well, I
Councilman
heard-
Tucson.
No offense taken there. Anyway, you know, a lot of people like to have the kids' birthday parties and stuff like that in the parks. What is the rationale for ruling out the bounce houses and those type of recreational things that people like to do at a park?
Liability,
Right.
liability. We can get sued if somebody gets injured.
Well, in a park,
Yes.
really?
Mhm.
So we have the playscapes there. Somebody could get hurt on those too.
Yeah, but we have insurance for that. When somebody shows up with a bounce house, we never know, you know, when they're going to bring them or anything like that. So, but we're still liable because it's in a city park.
Okay, we have insurance on the items that we put out there.
Yes, yeah. If we install it, we insure it. But if somebody else brings it in, that becomes a liability
To us.
to us. Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Williams?
Yeah, I just had a question on just one check register for election signs. It says election signs, flags, CH/Triumph Church. I think it is 12209. What was the election signs? What's
Right.
that about?
Okay, you want to do, it's because it's changed from the
Yeah.
park to, but you want Leslie to answer that
Yes,
question?
have Leslie answer that. Yes.
Mrs.
Leslie,
Franks,
yeah.
if you can answer that question for Councilwoman Williams?
Certainly. So with the closing of Popard, we are looking at changing precincts 5 and 6, and we are going to have them likely at the Triumph Middle School in the gym there. And I wanted to buy some additional signage to go along with the regular signage that we normally have, just so that people know that there's been a change. They're 12-foot high type feather flags, and hopefully then people will note the new location on Election Day. We have the intent to send out a letter to those folks in those 2 precincts, as well as updated voter registration cards. But that'll help on Election Day, because sometimes people don't check their mail. They may not realize that it's changed. So just wanted to have some extra signage out there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussions? Okay, roll call vote. Mrs. Franks?
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Costantino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sawicki,
Yes.
Councilman Toussaint,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, now we have old business, and since we have no old business, we'll move directly into new business and city manager report.
Okay, Mayor and City Council, item G1, City Manager's Employment Agreement. Attached is the City Manager's at-will employment agreement. The agreement provides that on the anniversary date of the agreement, March 29th, 2021, the agreement may automatically be renewed for an additional 3 years unless a notice is given to the contrary 90 days prior to this date. The city manager was called and has been on active military duty for approximately 1 year. The pandemic, call to active duty, as well as other national emergencies were unexpected and unanticipated events over the past year. As a result of the city manager being on active military service, no action was taken with regard to the agreement until his return. Specifically, the city did not take any action with regard to the 90-day provision since the city manager was on active duty and unable to attend any meeting that might have been held to discuss the matter. Given the city manager's return from active service and his expressed intent to return to his position, City Council may consider possible actions based on the agreement, including but not limited to renewal, modification, or non-renewal.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman
Mayor?
Pies.
I'd like to offer by resolution to not renew the employment agreement between the City of Harper Woods and Joseph Raker for the position of city manager.
Support.
Okay, discussion. There's no discussion?
Yes. We have our
okay.
hands raised.
Well, okay, Councilwoman Williams?
Yes. Plenty of discussion. One, we've had this contract brought to us several times. And at that time, Mr. Riker was on military leave. He's not scheduled to be back until it's June 14th. Am I correct?
He's back May 24th.
Hmm.
May 24th.
May 24th. As
I
of
thought
May
his
24th,
I thought his return date was June 14th.
as of May 24th.
His
Okay.
orders are May 24th. He's got 22 days of terminal vacation leave, just like vacation time.
So he's
Okay,
still on leave.
so that's still part of his leave though, isn't it?
No,
He's here.
I mean, he's here physically, but that time, that 22 days is still part of his leave.
But he's not on active duty.
But it's part of his active duty service where they let you do that 22 additional days, correct?
I'm just saying what's on the orders. It's 22 terminal days, but he's here.
Right, but the 22 terminal days is still part of his active duty agreement.
And he wanted to reach out to department heads before that. So for all purposes, he's here.
No, because when you had him reach out to department heads, he had to go through the he had to go through John Samansky, so he's not here until he actually reports to work, which will be
Right.
June 14th. So I'm just saying, yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. So I'm just saying that,
go ahead. You're just
So I'm
saying
saying-
that,
talking about his contract before he returns, I mean, if he's returning June 14th, which is what, next week, isn't it?
mhm.
I don't, if he is returning June 14th in 1 week, I don't see why we're talking about the contract a week before his return and saying not to renew it when he's not here to say anything about it, when he's not really returned to work yet.
Okay. We're,
Madam
okay,
Mayor,
yes.
can we have the city attorney weigh in on this? Because I know that he has reached out to council. He's tried to get in touch with me several times, although I've been in the hospital with my mom and unable to talk with him, but I understand that several council members have. But I did want to find out from the city attorney, who I thought was consulted about putting it on tonight's agenda.
Absolutely was consulted.
Okay, is Sharon able to weigh in on that?
If I may. We only have the one council meeting in June, one council meeting in July, one council meeting in August. With his return of his official return of June 14th in the office But given the fact that he's reached out to people at this point to come on board, this is probably the most appropriate time to discuss his contract.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilwoman Constantino?
Technically, he's still considered on military duty until he's exhausted all these days. And so we're putting ourselves at liability if we discuss the contract before his return date. And, I mean, and it's not even fair, really. So this is, you know, technically if he's earned 20 or 22 days of active leave date or whatever time he has, then we can't do anything until he actually returns.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a statement?
Mayor Kindle, if I may?
Yes.
The only other suggestion that if the June 14th date is of concern, we put this over and if everybody wants to call a special meeting, we call a special meeting on this issue for June 14th.
Thank you. Is there any?
Well, I think that's being a little dramatic. I don't think we need a special meeting.
We'll talk about it tonight, then we would have to.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons.
if I may say so, you know, we were told that June 14th was the date that the city manager will be returning from military deployment and be coming back to active duty here as city manager. And this is a violation of USERRA law. And what sort of precedents are we sending as a city to reward people for their service to their country when they come back, they don't have a job, when generally USERRA law guarantees that that job is going to be there for them? And, you know, is this what we do when someone is called to service? And this is how we thank them for their service to our country during an unprecedented time, that we just say, oh, okay, well, no, goodbye. So I just think that this is a little small for us to be even having this item on the agenda, and it's petty.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
Yeah, because I feel that if he's coming back in 1 week and if you don't want to renew his contract, you should be able to tell him that to his face, with him being able to speak as, you know, being part of the city, not while he's not actually technically here, you know, because he's not really serving our city as city manager until June 14th. Because to me, it seems just a little, I don't know, I would say underhanded to fire someone without them giving them even the opportunity. Let me speak, without even giving them the opportunity to respond. And especially since they were off on military leave. And I have yet to hear any valid reason for why the contract would not be renewed. If there was if we had done a review of his work every year or something, and there was something that we didn't like and renew, you know, but I've yet to even hear anything even valid. So I'm all for waiting until he has a chance to speak on his behalf, because I think it's very unfair to just say a week before you're supposed to return from military service that we don't want you. That, you know, it doesn't make sense to me.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
Although I am prepared to talk about, you know, Mr. Riker tonight, if that's necessary, if they want to, if the council wants to hold a special meeting next week, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Constantino.
I agree 100% with Councilwoman Williams. First of all, we shouldn't be talking about it before he returns. Secondly, we do need to give him an opportunity to speak. Third, we have absolutely no documentation or any specific reason why we would not continue his contract.
Okay,
And it does really seem shifty and underhanded, and to hold a special meeting next week, that is petty. That's super petty.
okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Swicky.
his natural contract would have ended on March 29th. If
Right.
we extend his contract and even an entire month until next July, what we're ending up doing is letting his contract roll over. And if we let his contract roll over and then choose to terminate his contract, then we are in for all sorts of fees. And, you know, because we would no longer be simply allowing the contract to end at a natural point. Instead, we would be terminating, and we're not, you know, this was the first opportunity that we have to look at this contract renewal. We know, at least, you know, I can speak for myself, that there were several times in the past, while, you know, Mr. Riker was present at meetings, where I have called for us to give a review because I was dissatisfied with the work that he was doing at the time. And the council is aware of that because I've said it openly at meetings. Now, I am fully willing to wait until next week, Monday, to handle this if that's the council's pleasure. But this is the natural point when his contract comes to an end. If we allow it to roll over, then we are setting ourselves up for fees that are associated with the end of a termination of a contract. And I don't think that's fair to the community to handle it in that way when this would be the natural end of a 3-year contract. And so if council wants to meet next Monday, then so be it. We should meet next Monday, and that's fine with me. But I think that's the only way that we can handle this.
Okay. No further discussions right now, so we can bring this to a roll call vote.
What are we voting?
We're voting on the non-renewal of the city manager's employment agreement, period. So you, Veronica, and you have seconded, we had the discussion. So now we're just taking the vote.
Well, I have only one little hesitation on that because we did this once before and then it was said we couldn't do it. So are we sure we can do it this time?
Yes, we have, every step of this has been done with consultation with our city attorney.
And so, Madam Mayor, just to set our mind at ease, can we have Sharon once again tell us that now would be the appropriate time to take this issue up?
Yes.
And that we don't have any problem when it comes to the law.
The only thing that I had said was that this was the next meeting. We'd have to wait till July. And that would be another month. These are the meeting dates. And so
Right.
that's why it was taken up on this date.
Right.
However, if his return to work date is June 14th, the special meeting, I would suggest, would be the better way to go.
All right, then would it be appropriate to table this to a special meeting to be held on June 14th?
I would suggest that.
All right, then Madam Mayor, I'm going to offer to table this because I know tabling will take it out of consideration right now. So I'm going to offer to table this to a special meeting to be held next week, Monday, June 14th.
You didn't make the motion. Point of order.
Just point of order, yes.
When you all discussion stops on the issue and it goes immediately to a table.
Got a question.
Yes, Councilman.
Now, we moved the meeting from the 14th to the 7th.
Right.
for Leslie. Now, how is this going to affect if we move it back to the 14th? I mean, then shouldn't she be at the meeting too? I mean,
That's,
This is the only business on the agenda on the 14th then.
because Leslie's getting ready to be certified, right?
Does not need to be present. We just need to have someone who would take minutes of the meeting, right?
Okay, just want to bring that up.
Madam Mayor,
yes, Councilwoman Pies.
I want to be sure that I understand our city attorney correctly. This was all passed through you to begin with, to have the timing correct and the wording correct. Am I correct in that?
No, I was just asked about reviewing his contract. I did not know his return date was June 14th.
And so that date then affects your recommendation?
Yeah, yes, it does.
You knew that this was going to go on today's agenda, but I don't understand why you didn't understand. I don't understand why you didn't understand that this may be voted on today.
There were various dates thrown about. I did not know his actual return date was June 14th. Not know that.
So what is your legal recommendation?
My legal recommendation is that if that's his return date, when he will be present and should be present, and that is the exhaustion of his active and whatever other time he might have in the service, when that is exhausted, that is the date. And if that's June 4th, if that's June 14th, I'm just assuming it is because that's his return date.
Okay, I don't know who I'm asking this question of, perhaps our city attorney or perhaps our city clerk, Frank. If, as Councilman Toussaint referred that she would be away, that our city clerk would be away on
the 14th.
On training next week, I'm wondering how this would affect how the meeting is called or the agenda is written, or how her presence is needed. I know we have somebody in training as her assistant, but I'm not aware that that person is up for the job of stepping in for her. So I'm wondering how this would be conducted.
I don't have anybody in my stead at this time.
And you would be unable to do it virtually next Monday, or would it be dependent on the time that it was held, or just not?
It would probably be dependent on what time it was held. I have classes all day, Sunday through Friday.
What time of your class is over? In the evening?
5 o'clock.
So we have the meeting at 7. Is that gonna be too much of a burden on you with homework and tired and cooking for family and that kind of thing?
We would only have one thing on the agenda.
Oh, okay, excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'm wondering if perhaps City Clerk Frank can tell me then, how do we handle the current resolution in light of changing it to the 14th? What is it I need to do or say at this moment?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Councilmember Sawicki did put something or make some sort of allusion to tabling the item. So if she would like to make that a formal motion and somebody would support that, then that would be that. And the prior motion would, or the prior resolution would just not happen. No vote was taken.
Okay, and I have one more question, please. Excuse me. If she tables it, then does that apply actually to the next regular meeting, or
No.
can
she could-
something table go over to a special meeting?
She can specifically state that it will be tabled until a special meeting is held, state the date, time, everything.
Right.
Okay,
Question.
thank you.
Point of order. Should the clerk be advising council on this as of right now? Should we just take direction from the city attorney?
Well,
I'm just sharing Robert's rules.
right, she is correct.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Tucson had his hands up first.
Well, I was asking Leslie Franks, I know she's in class all day long, but I was saying that the meeting was tabled till next week at 7 o'clock. Would she be able to be available for it then, or is that going to be too hard on you? Which is, it could be, you know?
Right.
I guess I will do whatever is the pleasure of council. I will do my best to try and make something work. Generally, well, I will then have to bring a laptop with me to do that.
Your training is not virtual?
No, it's at Central Michigan University in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons.
my question is, this meeting was moved to today at the inconvenience of other people, you know, for the fact that the city clerk is being certified or taking classes, and, you know, now to move it back to the 14th when she couldn't be available and now she has to make herself available. I think that this should just not be a special meeting on this day.
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I've been waiting patiently for a very long time with my hand up.
Okay, just a moment, please. And if you do it electronically, I will see your hand up.
It
So
is.
I don't see it.
It's
Okay.
been up for 10 minutes.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Okay, so this is, maybe the city attorney can answer this. If we have this meeting, if we're trying to have the meeting at a time that's when he's returning, but before he's actually returning, we would really have to have this meeting at the moment of his return, which would be in the morning. If
Right.
we have it in the evening, he would have returned already for one day. What's the difference if he's returned for one day or if he's returned for 3 weeks? And I believe no matter what we do, we're just going to be out the severance pay. He really doesn't make that much money. Position. I mean, if we put out the severance pay, we're probably going to be stuck for it. If we're not, he can probably sue us, and depending on the judge, he may win.
So,
What?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
All right. It sounds to me as if the attorney has suggested that next Monday would be the better date. Our city clerk assumes that she may be able to do this. In the past, there have been meetings that we have held where the city clerk was not present. And I seem to recall a few times where the city manager was taking notes. I distinctly recall a meeting, and perhaps Mr. Szymanski recalls that, when Mr. Lightline was in fact taking the minutes of a meeting that we had, and it was a regular city council meeting because of the absence of the city clerk on that date. I will trust that with one piece of business on the agenda, and namely, you know, the vote to extend or not extend the city manager's employment agreement, that business would take place in a very short period of time. I don't think it would be, it's not comparable to having a regular agenda. You know, if we had this meeting next week, there would be a lot of business to handle. And, you know, Mrs. Frank would be tied up for a number of hours, not a number of minutes. And so I don't think it is, I mean, it's an inconvenience, and I grant, you know, Mrs. Frank, I appreciate her willingness to come in even electronically and take the minutes of that particular meeting. But I don't think an untoward request. You know, I believe that Mrs. Frank or the city manager might be able, you know, the acting city manager might be able to take the minutes of a very short meeting. And we do have, you know, a virtual record of that meeting that would take place electronically, because I think that would have to be an open meeting. And so we'd have to, you know, handle that. There would be a record, whether it's a spoken record if we're doing it live, or if it's on videotape if we're doing it virtually. But I think that next Monday makes the most logical sense. The city attorney has recommended that date. And so I will move to table this motion until a special meeting next week, Monday, at the time that is best for the city clerk and for us to be notified of that.
Okay, Councilwoman, before you go, Councilwoman Pies has something to say, and then I have something to add to this.
Okay.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yeah, I wanted some clarification again from our city attorney.
Right.
Our Mr. Raker's return date then is June 14th. Over the past at least week, I know he's reached out to me and to other council persons. I know that he's spoken with other staff members about business. So I'm confused then as to when the action can be taken, if it's when the action can be discussed. If it's on the 14th, but he's been acting in one capacity since his physical return to the state, though he said the date he'll be into the office is on the 14th. I'm confused also then about the legalities that would play out from that, and when it would be appropriate or inappropriate. I understand that the city attorney said the 14th because that's the date she knows now. But since there's been contact or reaching out on the city manager's part, I'm wondering if that doesn't render the 14th moot.
Right.
Perhaps I could get some clarification on that.
I don't know of any law, reason, statute, notion that I can think of that suggests he couldn't reach out to people and ask what's going on prior to his return. My comment is that for the sake of absolute definiteness, if that's a word, if his orders are absolute last time, all of his time is used up the 14th would be the safest date in which to bring this to council and discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more comment.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams first, and then you, Councilman Toussaint.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't see the difference of, to me, waiting till next week should be just fine, especially if most of us seems to be in agreement that that would be a much better day for legal reasons, you know? And that way, Mr. Riker has a chance to speak. And also we are ignoring the fact that he is here and would like to speak. So that of course would have been up to Madam Mayor and Council to allow him to speak, but he is here and able to speak if you will allow him to. Or we could just do the motion and wait till the special meeting next week.
Right.
He is present.
Mm-hmm. Understand. My only problem with the timing for the 14th is that we would need to have that meeting at 9 o'clock or at the very latest 10 o'clock in the morning.
Why?
Right.
Right. because he would be back on duty. He's returning to duty at 9 o'clock that morning, correct? So if we postpone this, then we need to have the meeting the first thing in the morning before his start time.
Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilman Tucson had his hand up before you, Councilwoman Sawicki.
Well, two or three things. First of all, if somebody is and I've been in that situation more than once, an at-will employee, they can fire me at any reason and don't really have to give you a reason. This happened to me and I didn't, never gave me a reason. Plus the fact that we decide to have it on the 14th, can't we determine, since he reports to the mayor, can she determine what time that she will allow him to come in for this meeting? She can determine the time, can't she, for him to report?
Right.
I'm just asking.
Okay.
The mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
Another thing crossed my mind, and that is, I know that at the time, 90 days, that 90-day period, at the time that was passing, I know Councilwoman Pies tried to raise that question at a council meeting. And if a 90-day, if that had taken place, which obviously we couldn't do, that would have been before the termination or the end of his natural contract.
Right.
And I don't see, in retrospect, I don't see why today wouldn't be any different than the 90-day period in front of the expiration of a contract. So we should be able to determine today that we did not want or did want the city manager to return, and it would seem to me to be very similar in balance with a 90-day before the end of a contract. I mean, we should be able to do it today because that would be comparable to period before the end of the natural contract.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, what you're saying is essentially what happened during the active military time is that USERRA takes over.
Mhm.
And that's essentially the same thing. He's still on military duty. USERRA still applies.
Okay.
That's why we couldn't do the 90. I mean, we couldn't do the 90 days for a whole bunch of reasons. USERRA was preventing us from doing anything. There really was no way to send any notification. So essentially what you're suggesting is the same thing as if you did it in the middle of the military service.
Okay.
All right, but in a contract, the way it's written, that we could just,
If there was no military service.
Right.
But
But we-
USERRA still applies until the end of the time, which is June 14th.
June 14th.
all right, and so if we knowing that he's back in the States, that he is, and in fact, from what I understand, attending the meeting virtually tonight, it seems to me that would be very comparable to the, period before the natural end of a contract, where we decide that, the contract is or is not going to be extended. It seems to me that it would be very comparable to that 90-day period before the end of the contract when you decide whether you're going to retain that employee or not.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to assume that we are going to follow the direction of our city attorney, is what I thought along. I was not aware that she was not aware of the date, or else this would not have been on the agenda. We would have had a call special meeting. So being that the fact that our city attorney is advising us to postpone this until a special meeting, I suggest this is what we do in following the direction of our city attorney.
You need a second on my motion then.
Yes. So we need someone to second your motion. And then we'll take a vote. Is anyone seconding the motion that Councilwoman Sawicki placed?
Can you read it?
Madam Mayor,
The motion was to table this action until next week, Monday, at a special meeting where we would have this as the only agenda item.
It's the only agenda item, and we don't necessarily have to have Mrs. Franks because the city manager, acting city manager, can take the minutes. It's one item, and that's all we need. That's the only business that we would have before us.
support.
Okay? So all in favor?
No, you have to take a roll call, I think.
Roll call. Roll call, Mrs. Franks.
It's a motion, so it does not require a roll call.
Oh,
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay,
Any opposed?
nay. Opposed.
Okay. So motion carries. All right. City manager.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we will let you know in the next day as the exact time of the special meeting.
thank you.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I just have a point of order. This item was tabled a while ago. It should have been on the old business. It should have been on the old business and on the agenda,
No, it should not have been under the old business.
unless it's voted on to go into new business. Or
It
the agenda.
it would be old business when we discuss this on June 14th.
Right, but we tabled this discussion in the past.
It was, no,
No,
it was never an agenda item in the past. I think.
right.
It was put on the agenda. And then we voted not to. We voted to table it at that time,
And so,
not to follow through with it at that time, but it
And-
was put on the agenda.
okay. And your point being, we've tabled this now for a special meeting on June 14th under the direction of our city attorney. So what do you want us to do now?
Well, that's fine. It's just, I was just pointing out that it's old business, or it was old business.
Point taken. Go ahead.
Item G2, service agreement, Point Area Assisted Transportation Services. Mayor and council, attached is the agreement for operation of the PATS Transportation Service for the Grosse Pointes and Harper Woods. The operation will continue to be managed by the Helm Life Center under the administrative review of the PATS Board. As with the previous agreement, the interests of our community have been appropriately addressed and accounted for. It is my recommendation that this agreement be approved.
I need a resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Page.
I'll offer by resolution to approve the 3-year transportation service agreement between the Point Area Assisted Transportation Service, PATS, and Helm Life Center that will remain in effect until June 30th, 2024, and further to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Support.
Support by Councilman Toussaint. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
on our page 91, which is page 12 of 13 of this contract, it talks about compensation, and there's only one thing that sounded a little confusing to me. I just want to verify that it's not a change from the present system. It indicates how the contractor, in this case, the helm, is compensated under PACS. And it says that the annual assignment of member communities includes the credit funds made available to them by SMART, specialized service contract funds made directly available by SMART to PATS, the state of Michigan general fund revenues, and this is the one that I thought sounded a little confusing. Community development block grant funds. It says, we agree that these monies that are given to us will be turned over to PATS, who will distribute them to the helm. And I know that in the past, our community development block grant did not entirely go to PATS.
Right.
Instead, only a portion of it went to PATS. But the way this is written, it makes it sound as if the community development block grant funds will go to PATS. And I just want to kind of make certain that we still are able to determine the percentage or the amount of the community development fund that we will turn over to that particular use, that it's not going to entirely be turned over based on this agreement.
Yeah, I'd like to just make mention of the fact that on any of the community development block grants, there is a specific portion that the county will allow. And I want to say that nothing substantially has changed. They are, will give out bus passes, they will give out funding to keep this alive, but under no circumstances will our entire community development block grant funds be used for this, just a portion. This is, it should read differently, but that's the intent.
Okay.
We're not going to be taking all of our money and putting it into this, no.
Okay, I wanted to just verify that. And the second comment that I wanted to make was more for our city attorney, because I really like the way that that they have included. I'm trying to find the page number for it, but there is a portion of this that it's number 25 on page 5 of their agreement, the anti-kickback and no bribes segment of this agreement. And I thought, I really like that it is included in this, and I'd like to see us do some imitation of that language when we draw up contracts in the future. And so I just wanted to point it out to say, that's really a great idea. So
I like that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Councilman Tucson.
Yeah, with Helm, now, let me get it straight. We pay a certain portion for the transportation. Don't we also pay a certain portion to keep the Helm open?
Okay, this is just in regards to this
Transportation.
transportation. We get certain amount of credits that are applied. None of the money is generated from Harper Woods. This is all passed through from the county of Wayne, through the state of Michigan, from the federal government. And that's all that, we're voting on tonight, is just to keep the transportation part of it open. And it's basically the same agreement as we've had in the past.
Well, I was just asking, do we contribute to them in two different ways? Transportation and keeping the facility open?
No.
Just transportation.
Just transportation. And again, that's all with pass-through dollars.
Okay.
Are there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Councilwoman Lyons,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sawicki,
Yes.
Councilman Toussaint,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Kendall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Constantino.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Mayor and council, item G3, new business, introduction and first reading, an ordinance to regulate short-term rental properties. As was previously discussed, a draft ordinance has been prepared by the city attorney addressing the concerns raised about Harper Woods properties being utilized as Airbnb properties. Standards and regulations have been created that would require the property owner to register with the city and apply for a permit. It also provides for penalties if violations of this ordinance occur. I have reviewed this and recommend that it be placed for first reading and adoption.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
I'd like to offer the resolution. A resolution to introduce and place for first reading an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend the City of Harper Woods Code of Ordinances and shall be known as the short-term rental ordinance, and further that the city clerk publish a notice of this in accordance with the city policy.
support.
Support by Councilwoman Pies. Discussion,
Yes.
Councilwoman Toussaint.
Yeah, well, two things on this. This is just minor. I noticed that on B1G, there's a typo in there. It says period twice, and that should be fixed. And on B2, let me see. No, then on B1N is settlements statement certifying the should be, and it should be that should be.
So noted.
So noted.
Okay, and my next question here is, before I totally approve this, it says it's first readings, but it's no fees in there. I guess we have to do this again on the second reading where we'll approve the fees, or?
You said what now?
There's no fees, an administrative fee. Yeah, we're going to have to have a resolution to give to the council that would establish the fee. He's talking about right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what are we voting on? I mean, this is the first reading, and it doesn't matter what the fees are, but just to get people ready.
Well, this is kind of like an introduction. You know, right now there's a state law, or I should say a law going through the House
Right.
Regarding Airbnbs, and we want to have something in place, you know, before this actually passes. If the state law goes into effect, then essentially any kind of regulation on our part is going to be null and void. So we put this together rather hastily to address a lot of the concerns from the council, and you know, whatever suggestions you have, we will have them in place by the next reading.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, may I speak? I'm out of turn here. Excuse
Yes,
me.
not a
I'm out of
problem.
turn here. But yes, I welcome comments, and I actually had questions in the ordinance for council to answer. And the reason, Councilman Toussaint, that there's no fees in here is that you can do that by resolution and change them from time to time, and you don't have to amend the ordinance. You can just amend your resolution as to what those fees are. So if the application process turns out to be a little more cumbersome and you need to charge a higher fee, you can just pass that resolution at a later time and increase that fee rather than trying to amend your ordinance. It's a simpler process, if that helps.
That helps.
Good,
Okay.
good.
All right.
Madam Mayor?
Councilwoman Sawicki.
All right. Normally, something like this is handled at the ordinance committee, only because we would have a lot of input on this. And so we're asking the council to give the input directly. And so there are a few things that I did want to bring to the attention of the city attorney and the attention of council on this particular ordinance. The first is on page 2 under definitions. In researching this ordinance in other communities, one of the things that was mentioned is that closets had been attempted in some communities where someone has thrown a bed into a closet and called it a bedroom, so that they could increase the number of people that could be accommodated in a house. And under bedroom, it does list a number of items that could not be used. And I'm just suggesting that the city attorney attach or also mention closets, because other communities have had that problem. Further down on that same page, it talks about mixed use property, and I didn't understand quite what that clause referred to. And so I'm asking the city attorney to just explain the term mixed use property and how it might affect our community.
Well, it's a decision of council as to where you would like to have or prefer to see Airbnbs in residential neighborhoods only. Mixed use, if there was, condominiums, for example, and things of that nature. You know, the other issue would be if it's residential, do you want it to be owner occupied, as opposed to can a business have various properties that are not owner occupied, they're owned by various businesses that they use as Airbnb.
Right.
And that's for council to decide as to how they want their city to look and what they want in an Airbnb. I know the city of Ann Arbor has a rather strict ordinance, and only owner occupied residential units can be used for Airbnbs.
Right. And I know certainly I would like that. I like the fact that you put it in there, owner occupied houses. That way one person who might own 10 houses or come into the community to purchase property in order to turn them into Airbnbs, it would be less likely to happen, because it would have to be, you know, a property that that person occupies. So I do like that. On the next page, where it talks about short-term rental, you give us an option there that the commercial use of renting a dwelling unit or rooming unit in exchange for compensation or other consideration as residential accommodation for a period of at least one night, but not more than 30. And you say it could be up to 90.
I will tell you that the state uses the 30-day standard.
And 30 seems appropriate to me as well. I'm just going to throw out all of my suggestions, and then, you know, the other council members could add their own, where you provide that the very bottom of the page, letter A, B1A, name, address, telephone number, driver's license number. We neglect email, and I think email is an easy way of getting in touch. I noticed that other communities require, and it was my experience staying at an Airbnb, that if there is not enough parking in a driveway, because if we're permitting a house to have, you know, X number of people that they rent it to, they may not be able to do that. We might be able to get hang tags or something that the owner is responsible for. I stayed at an Airbnb in California, and they did not require on-street parking, similar to what we do here in Hartford, where a resident needs to purchase on-street parking. And in that community, if you did an Airbnb, then you had a hang tag that was able to be permitted for overnight parking, and the renter hung that tag from their, window in their vehicle. That way the police knew that that spot had been paid for, whatever. It might be worth looking into so that any on-street parking could be handled appropriately and with a commensurate fee. Obviously the person who owns the house would have to make arrangements in advance to have that hang tag available. The other thing is that there's somewhere on that page, but I'll get back to it. A couple of things from Saugatuck, where the Saugatuck Township Fire District had specific things that had to be included in the notice for a rental inspection. And I don't know if we have a rental inspection developed yet, but I would strongly recommend taking a look at the Saugatuck Township Fire District rental inspection checklist and incorporating some of that into the ordinance, because it would cover things like open fires, the use of and the need for electrical hazards, and making certain that that houses would be inspected for particular fire hazards that could take place, or at least you must have something, posted in the home that would direct the renter in a certain way, or have them be notified. Also, I'm going to turn to Section 7, short-term rental permit. This seems open. It says any dwelling rented for a total of 2 or fewer weeks during a calendar year does not require a permit be issued pursuant to this ordinance. And I don't think that is something that I would like to see. I think that any money that's exchanged for the rent of a place for longer than 2 nights should be required to be permitted. That if someone wants to put their house into a B&B situation, Airbnb situation for longer than 2 nights, then they have to seek a permit from the city. That's my thought on that.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yeah, I had a lot of concerns about this too, and a lot of input, but there were so many. I'm wondering if it's okay for me to just write them down and submit them to our city manager and our attorney, or is this something I need to say in the Open Meetings Act?
If I may, something that I had suggested is that when I gave the ordinance is that if you had questions, you can submit them to the city manager, who would give them to me, and it might prove more efficient that way, because and in
You don't
this
have to go
regard,
back and listen to it.
we can, because this could take all night. I don't know that this is the most efficient way to do this, so I agree with you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And also, I wanted to let you know that a little over a week ago, I wrote a letter about this to our legislators. They were meeting, the committees were meeting last Tuesday, I believe. I couldn't make it up there in Lansing for that, so I wrote a letter and to all of them. And also, I'm in the midst of writing a letter to the editor of one of our Detroit papers, just to express my and hopefully our concerns about this regarding cities losing lack of control. Not so much about the rentals themselves, because I think I at least support them in concept. As I've said before, I've been to Airbnbs and the like, and so that was my thinking on that. Also, in looking at this, the explanations Says Harper Woods properties being utilized as Airbnb properties. Well, that's not part of the resolution. I think it being explanation or remarks we should probably make it known that it's not exclusive to Airbnb, that there are other businesses that do that. I just don't want to get into a dangerous area of singling out one particular type of business. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Are there any further discussion? Councilwoman Constantino?
Yeah, I wanted to just touch on a couple of things in here. First of all, I would lean, instead of 30 days, I would lean more toward 60 or 90 days. I know I have a very dear friend who, like, when school gets out, she takes her kids up north and rents her house out. She's in Grosse Pointe. She rents her house out for the summer, the whole summer, and then she comes back. That's not unusual. The average stay at an Airbnb is probably more likely 3 to 7 days than 2 days. So, but most importantly, the owner occupied is the #1 best way that we can get a grip and have control over this. So I agree with Councilwoman Sawicki on this one. If we have it owner occupied, that really limits what people can do. First of all, the owner's there and they're not going to want to get in trouble. And so the type of people who would rent a unit at a place that's owner occupied are going to pretty much become people anyway. So you're getting a better quality of a visitor. Secondly, if you allow people to have management companies, or, if you say someone can live 45 minutes away or whatever, what's to say someone from Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham, or even Canada, because Canada's, less than 45 minutes away. What's to say that they aren't going to buy up a whole bunch of condos in Harper Woods and turn them all into, VRBO or Airbnb, whatever, and just have a constant turnaround of people. So that's going to make it very, very difficult to control the situation. Just saying as an example, I could go out and buy a whole bunch of houses in Harper Woods and turn them into Airbnbs. But, instead of renting them to individual owners, I could, tell my tenants, hey, look, I can make more money renting to Airbnb, you're out. As soon as your lease is expired, if you're not in a lease, you're out. And then I could make a whole bunch of money doing that. But, you're going to get people who are going to zone in on it and profit it. However, if you have someone, if the owner has to be in the house, or, it can only be in the homeowner's house, then that really, really controls and limits the chaos that could happen. I'm not saying that there's never going to be chaos, but the amount of chaos is going to be cut by about 95 to 98% by having it only in owner occupied houses. I would go ahead and allow for up to 90 days, just because sometimes you get someone who is coming in town for a period of time to take care of a family member, or, an extended visit. So that also allows us to collect more taxes on it too. When we start imposing the fees and taxes, we can make more money that way too. So just something to think about. We want to make the maximum amount of money with the least amount of problem. And this is just some things for you to think about. There's a lot of other small details we could go over, but I think those are the most important things.
Okay, I think we should just take lead from our city attorney, and she said for us to make these written comments directed to our acting city manager, and then we will go from there, and she will be able to incorporate these things rather than, continue to discuss it out. So valid points brought up, so let's get those points brought in and sent in to acting city manager. Is there any further discussion or anyone else that needs to say anything specifically regarding the Airbnbs? Okay, then, let's have a roll call vote. Mrs. Frank?
Councilwoman Pies,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sawicki,
Yes.
Councilman Toussaint,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Kindle,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G4, transfer station disposal service agreement, South Macomb Disposal Authority Transfer Station. Mayor and council, attached before you is the new proposed 3-year agreement between SMDA and the city of Harper Woods. It sets forth the terms and conditions of the removal of municipal solid waste on behalf of the city and provides the cost increases for trucking fuel, landfill charges, equipment, and administrative charges that are projected for the term of the contract based on tonnage. It would essentially add a little over $1 per ton for the next 3 years. Waste removal costs have been increasing in the city during recent months due to home sales, new renters, and removal of discarded debris due to COVID-19, etc. We will be monitoring this increased usage in the future months and report back to City Council if needed. We will have sufficient revenues to absorb this increase for year 2022 and 2023, but may need to review our refuse user fees starting in year 2024. It is recommended that this agreement be approved.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons. You're muted.
I'll offer the resolution to approve the transfer station disposal service agreement between the city of Harper Woods and the South Macomb Disposal Authority, SMDA, for the removal of solid waste set forth in this agreement for a term beginning July 1st, 2021 and expiring June 30th, 2024, and further to authorize the acting city manager to sign the agreement.
I support.
Support.
Support by Councilman Toussaint. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Pies.
the $1 per ton, I'm wondering what that amounts to, total approximate?
It's roughly a little over $8,000, depending on the
Okay.
tonnage.
And my second question is, I see on page 107 that Attorney John Galuli is the contact person. Am I correct? It's the same John Galuli who,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
okay, he's an attorney for the Michigan Municipal League who represented us in what I think is a criminal situation, but I'm wondering why we're continuing to use him or employ him for this
We have
matter.
no control over
Yeah,
that.
He's not ours. Yeah.
It's not our.
He's not our attorney.
It's not our
He
attorney.
works for the South Macomb Disposal Authority.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I didn't understand that. I thought he was still working with us for some
No.
reason. All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Sawicki.
Is the SMDA the only available transfer station?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
at this time,
At
yes.
this time, yes, yes.
Okay.
Quick question. Does this allow for us to have only cans, or we still go under the guise of having cans and bags?
Okay, what happens is there's includable and excludable waste. And I want to say that those decisions are all made at the transfer station. They will generally pick up anything that you put into bags. However, when it gets down to the transfer station, that's when the garbage is separated into what's includable, what's excludable. And again, the EPA standards are changing all the time. So just as a little caveat, whatever is excludable waste on behalf of the city of Harper Woods still remains our problem.
Mm.
That's essentially the general gist of it. They will take everything. I don't believe we've had any problems with the waste that goes to their site. But again, they're the final say so as to what gets dumped into the landfill sites and what doesn't.
Any discussion? Any more discussion, I should say? No? All right, roll call vote, Mrs. Frank.
Councilwoman Sawicki,
Yes.
Councilman Toussaint,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Kendall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
All right, that brings us to call the audience and minutes each. And start with who, Bob, who has the hand up?
One time, 3 minutes.
All right, I'm scanning at the moment. I don't see anyone raising their hand. Those of you that don't have cameras, if you wish to speak, please unmute at this time and identify yourself.
Okay. We'll move
Madam
on.
Mayor, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I know, Corinne Martin from GPAS has been on here just about the entire meeting, and I do know for a fact that there was something she wanted to address. Oh, and she just popped up here. So perhaps she can speak then.
Yep, she electronically raised her hand. I was just going to identify her. Go ahead.
She's muted.
She's muted. Okay.
There you go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
You're good.
Can you see me or I don't know if
Yes.
you can?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Now I can see. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I don't know if you're aware, but we had a fundraiser on Saturday. We had a bottle and can drive that was driven actually by Brownell School and Grosse Pointe Farms. The kids were going to collect bottles and cans and take them to Kroger, Meyer, whatever, and bring the money back to us. So it was a fundraiser. What happened is it was overwhelmingly received. We ended up with probably, without exaggeration, 200 to 300 bags of bottles and cans that we collected for 4 hours on Saturday. When the school team pulled up to our building at 4 o'clock to pick up, there was one parent that showed up with one child in one car. They were completely overwhelmed. They just threw up their hands and said, "We don't know what to do, but we can rent a U-Haul and come back the next day." Needless to say, the residents started rummaging through. It became a fracas. People were calling the police department because of all the garbage in front of our building. Nobody knew really what to do. I didn't really know what was going on. The point of all of this is that I want to give my heartfelt thanks and kudos to Mayor Valerie Kendall. I did not know this, and I still can't believe she did this. She came out that night, Saturday night, I was told by one of my volunteers who also showed up. 9:30 at night, that woman is out there picking up all of our trash. I guess she was able to engage DPW trucks. They were able to get all the bottles and cans. They were able to donate them to the Lions Club, which is another charity that we admire. And so she really saved the day. And I don't know many mayors of any city that would come out and clean up somebody else's garbage on a Saturday night at 9:30 for a fundraiser that went bad. So I just want to thank her in front of everyone for what she did. That's it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Corinne. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Above and beyond. Above and beyond.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go to call the council. Councilman Toussaint, I saw your hand up first. You're muted. Okay, he's muted. Do you want to unmute yourself? If not, I have to go on over to Councilwoman Williams. She had her hand up next.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, I'd like to extend my condolences for my husband and myself to Ernestine Lyons and her family. And the other thing is I'm looking forward to the Juneteenth event coming up. And I know we had a very good turnout for the Memorial Day. I missed that. I had some family business I had to take care of. But I know it went very well because the agenda looked great, and I'm sure everyone did a great job on that. So I'm looking forward to the Juneteenth event coming up in June. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Toussaint.
Okay, Councilman Toussaint, are you?
Yes, I found my cursor. But first of all, Councilwoman Williams, firstly, one of the first things on my top of my list was also my condolences to Ernestine. You know, one of the things that Ernestine and I have kind of in common is that I'm about the age of her father and she's like the age of my daughter. So we always kind of laugh about that a little bit. And hopefully she'll let us know when the service arrangements are so we can be a part of that. I want to again congratulate thank Councilwoman Pies for including me in the Memorial Day celebration. Oh God, it went very well. We had a good turnout for it. It made me want to inspired me to want to go out and to see if I can find a few more service people that had died that we can include in the agenda next year. And the pictures also helped a lot to be able to show the pictures of them at that time period and that type of thing. And I just want to thank her for allowing me to be a co-host with her on that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sawicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too send my condolences to Woman Lyons and her family on the loss of her father. And I do second the request that when arrangements are made, that we learn of those arrangements so we can pay our respect. But I also wanted to mention that our newest planning commissioner, Lauren Mercer, gave a few suggestions when we were interviewing her that I think I'll pass along to the city because the suggestions are good ones. And the first is that we have on our pedestrian bridges, you may notice that there are garbage bags that are often tied to the edge of the bridge. And those garbage bags may or may not be used to handle garbage. Generally speaking, I think people shy away from going up to a tied off garbage bag to add anything to it. And so she wondered whether we could get something more permanent on the bridges. We have cement type garbage holders in certain locations in the city. And if we could somehow do something that would encourage people so they don't dump their trash on the pedestrian bridges. And so she had that recommendation and I just wanted to pass that along. Also at Salter Park, one of the things that we were told early on was that it was the intention to get little doggy bag dispensers put up at the park. And so I was hoping that we might again revisit that idea and our planning commissioner also made that recommendation. I'm asking the acting city manager when I'm done with my comments, if he could please update us on the Parkcrest Hotel and let us know what the condition of that hotel has been, if the police department has had fewer calls out there, or if we are going to have to take more aggressive action dealing with that hotel. And then finally, also a little update on Tim Horton, because I'm sure the community is anxious to get moving and use their facility. And so if you could update us on the Tim Horton property as well.
I can do both tonight, okay? For one, as far as the Park Crest Hotel, we're about 50% down at this time of the year than last year, but I will let the chief make a detailed commentary. Chief, would you want to speak on behalf of that?
Yes, good evening. As the city manager had said, we are down 50% calls for service compared to this time last year. Incidents we responded to this year are minor compared to the same time last year. We're still seeing narcotic activity consistent with out-of-state visitors, but overall officers have been actively patrolling the area and deterring anything serious there.
Okay, Tim Hortons, more than likely around maybe September, October, we can start to see that building. What's holding back a lot of things are just getting workers at this time, coming out of quarantine, COVID, and getting work crews together. So there has been delays in general construction, but we're still on target, and probably right, like I said, right around fall time, Tim Hortons will be up.
All right, great. And Madam Mayor, I assume that you will fill us in on some of the details of the Juneteenth celebration that's coming up very shortly. Thank you.
Mhm.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Pies.
I'd like to thank Councilman Toussaint for working with me to put together the unofficial Harper Woods Memorial Day ceremonies. At this time, I'd also like to thank some of the people that were a part of it. The invocation and benediction were given by Reverend Deborah Dawson of the New Life Ministries Worldwide. Singing of the national anthem was Shirley Cotton, and she's sung at the 2019 memorial service, I recall. She played keyboards and sang, and we really appreciated it. Also, the Pledge of Allegiance was led by Eric Yoakum. Hope I pronounced that right, J-O-C-H-U-M. He's a Scoutmaster for the Boy Scout Troop 273. Also, speakers included our Senator Adam Ollier, who's also in the U.S. Army Reserves, Tim Killeen, our Wayne County Commissioner for District 1, who again read the Gettysburg Address, statement from Marty Eddy, who's the Michigan coordinator for the National League of POW/MIA families, and also Dan Palmer, I invited to speak. He spoke at the 2019 ceremonies, and he gave a really moving speech regarding Harper Woods residents, youth who had died during the Vietnam War. And so I invited him back again for that. And since we're all here right now, I would like to just say the names of the persons who were named during this, the Harper Woods residents. One is PFC Barry Frank Anderson, who was killed in action in Vietnam. This Master Sergeant Desmond P. Baker, who is the U.S. Army 1st Infantry Division, also known as the Big Red One. Captain John Brunel, U.S. 5th Army, World War II veteran. We all remember Mr. Brunel from coming to each of our city council meetings. I don't think he missed a one, and also being president of the Dads Club. Also, PFC Michael John Cromie, who was killed in action on November 18th, 1968 in Vietnam. He's a Harper Woods High School graduate of 1967. His sister was there, and I was able to talk with her, and she told me about some other Harper Woods young people who had also served. Also, Lieutenant Corporal Paul David Manero, who was killed in action in Vietnam. Staff Sergeant Joseph Palazzolo, U.S. 3rd Army, 350, I'm getting this wrong, 356 1st Mechanized Division. Also Spencer Rocho, U.S. Army, is 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. PFC Esther Rosu, who was a U.S. Army nurse, and her husband, Airman John Rosu, U.S. Air Force. Mr. Rosu was born and raised in Harper Woods, and he married Esther Rosu, and they raised their family here in Harper Woods, and I believe that was until 2014. Also, Private First Class John Joseph Schultz Jr., who was killed in action in Vietnam. Corporal Oresto J. Velardo, U.S. Army 15th Ordnance Battalion, Korean War veteran. Martin J. Watts, U.S. Army Corporal Tech 5, World War II veteran. And Private First Class Joseph Searman Wire Jr., who was killed in action in Vietnam. Thank you.
Mr. Zolak, Joseph Zolak.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Zolak wasn't included on the program, but he was very active here in Harper Woods. I know I served on the Parks and Recreation Board with him for many years. And I've heard from other people that he was active, I think, in Little League and other things in the city.
Correct. And Mr. Vargo, we should also remind that he was also a city councilman for many, many years, and as well as, that he served in the service. So we like to give, his kudos on both levels, just thanking him for his service and his family for his service on both levels. Very, very wonderful program that you guys put off. That was fantastic. Much appreciated. Is there anyone else would like to speak on council? All right, seeing none. First of all, I would like to extend my condolences once again to Councilwoman Lyons and her family. I know it's a tough time, and I appreciate you even taking the time today to be a part of this meeting, because it takes, I guess, your dedication, it's to be commended. So you have our condolences, and please keep us informed so that we can do a proper respect to you and your family regarding the death of your father. And as I was saying before, Memorial Day was fantastic. It's some of the things that you incorporated, Councilwoman Pies and Councilman Toussaint. We would like something to carry forward to the next Memorial Day. I just like to think of making it seem so much more personal. Although it was by Zoom, I've been zoomed out this year, but that was an enjoyable Memorial Day program. I really felt a personable connection.
Thank you.
Anyway, June 19th, we will be having, we won't be having, but we will have the Juneteenth celebration will be at the WC3. A flyer will be coming out. I should get it together by tomorrow. We are doing this in conjunction with WC3 and East Point mayors. We agreed to do a celebration in each one of our cities as the two African-American mayors of these two respective cities. So our program will start from 1 to 4, and East Points will start from 4 to 8, and they will also be showing a Black Panther movie in the parks later on. And we will have the DSO will be at our Juneteenth celebration. And amongst other people, I usually have historians and the African dancers and stuff. So those things will be there, and also food trucks. We will not be serving food. We will, however, have water to give to people. And it looks like it may be rain, so bring your umbrellas just in case. We're going to make sure that but the program will go on. So a flyer will come out within the next couple of days, so everyone will be informed and have the information ahead of time. And acting city manager, I wanted to know about Beaconsfield. We're on schedule with Beaconsfield, are we not?
Yes, we're having a pre-construction meeting Wednesday.
Okay,
So once that takes place, that's when you're gonna see the jackhammers.
all right.
Yep.
So with that saying, is there any other business? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Toussaint wants to speak again. I've got him muted.
Oh, okay, yes,
Yes, my question is there going to be like a little groundbreaking ceremony of some sort with photographers and stuff, or?
I don't think so, but we're gonna have the pre-construction meeting. I didn't think it was gonna be this fancy.
You're not going to be cutting ribbons and breaking champagne bottles?
Not yet, when it's up, yeah, when it's up.
when we expect the first cars down the road.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
no, I mean, they gotta bring you got seniority here, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, absolutely. It's on the list of stuff here, so.
all right, thank you. All right, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right, move the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries, we are adjourned, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.